some point, black people have to, stop complaining and have to do for themselves. You can't even see the enemy, man. You can't see the real enemy that got you binded down and keeping you oppressed, man. You can't see him yet. These areas is where we never address these areas. We never address these areas and look at what we should be doing while we waiting on Christ's return. It's good money to keep you a slave. The solution for us is us coming together, like I always bring out. 52 former black McDonald's franchisees are suing McDonald's, meaning these are McDonald's owners of McDonald's franchises are now suing McDonald's. What I want you to keep in mind is that, of course, McDonald's is supposed to be known for being so pro-black. McDonald's is supposed to be known for loving black people and helping black businesses and opening up, different McDonald's franchises, and it's supposed to be no issue. However, 52 previous owners are now suing McDonald's. And let me tell you something that is good, again, about this coronavirus. The coronavirus and all the upheaval going on in the country has given rise to more courage in black people and Latino people. And in that courage, they beginning to bring out more and more of the things that's being done to us that they otherwise would not bring up, because out of fear of being cut out of the money pot, which is what these franchisees were afraid of. But now they turned around and now they're coming against McDonald's and they suing McDonald's. And the depth of this story is going to be something to behold. With all this diversity programs, with all this love for black people and all this little inner city help and all of this, all of it has been BS. All of it was part of the scheme that kept us so blind for so long and have us thinking that, we really got avenues out there. Let me tell you something, man. I understand that the brothers want to protest them little rednecks out there in Kentucky over some statue. I understand they want to stand up for black people and they want to get it on, and I think that's righteous in their heart, what it is that they trying to do. But boy, we should look at some of the greater evil that's being done to us that is really would change the face of black America if we stand and take a good look at it. Let me read a little bit for you as I go into this, because this is going to get interesting. If you hang with me for just a minute, this is about to get interesting. Dozens of former franchisees are suing McDonald's, alleging years of systematic racial discrimination and inequality at the fast food corporation. In a lawsuit filed Tuesday, the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois, 52 black former McDonald's franchisees owners say the company denied them the same opportunities as white franchisees and steered them instead to locations that are destined to fail, meaning, which is what they do with everything. Give you the substandard food, give you the substandard housing, give you the leftover housing, give you the leftover used cars, give you everything, hand you down everything. And the same with the franchise. You come in thinking this is McDonald's, I'm gonna invest my money here, I'm gonna open a McDonald's, and they already know the areas that are crap and know that they ain't never gonna be successful and know that they're a big problem, and instead they steer you to go get your franchise there, and as a result, you end up losing. Let me check it out a little bit more. And once again, here's another example, like we brought up in the last tape. We brought up how in these phone companies now, they're getting black people fired by turning around and going back and pulling their records up to see if they got any domestic violence calls or any beefs with their wives or any child support issues, so they can fire them and get them the hell out. You think that the protests and these white supremacist groups are bad. That's not where you're gonna feel the pain at. You're gonna feel the pain by these corporations who basically own the ghetto and are now going to do double time in helping to destroy us and cut us the hell off. Way more than the rednecks could on the street. Check it out, y'all. The lawsuit alleges McDonald's misled these black entrepreneurs and they were deemed equal opportunity to economic success by McDonald's systematic covert racial discrimination. This is such an important point. Systematic covert racial discrimination. That term need to be coined. Systematic, let me get it right. Systematic and covert racial discrimination. That's the discrimination you got to look at, man. That they work in secret to destroy you, just like I always read how they secretly work to destroy us in so many ways. We are enslaved in so many ways. If you work for McDonald's, I'm gonna show you today how you are a slave, and it's sad. I'm not saying quit your job or anything like that. What I'm saying is, it's sad how this is being done to us. How we are so struggling in such poverty and so on the bottom of the empire, and always trying to pull ourselves up and don't know why we can never pull ourselves up in here. We can't do it because they're doing so much dirt, which I'm about to show you all in this video. You're gonna be shocked at what I'm gonna bring out, some of the stuff I'm gonna bring out in this video, man, that's already come out. Here's what they're saying. The plaintiffs seek a jury trial and damages of between $4 and $5 million for each store. Each store is seeking $4 and $5 million. And let me tell you something. They got lured in because, once again, McDonald's, like a lot of corporations, love to promote their diversity, love to show themselves as though they really care about us, when really it's a hustle to make you feel at home while they robbing you blind. Make you feel comfortable, make you feel like you're included. And for all you that go to church, all you good Christians that believe in it and get caught up in it, you get sucked in the door and they destroy your whole life. Here's what it said. Each and every one of these businessmen and women tell a story of dashed hopes and lost dreams. Good point. Your hopes and dreams get dashed and lost because your hopes and dreams are in this kingdom instead of in the Lord and in the Lord's kingdom and in a way to help your own. Instead, you latch on to this kingdom, get selfish and think you're going to be a success and leave the rest of your people behind. Get caught up in the game and they just rob you blind. The solution for us is us coming together, like I always bring out. Here's what it says. Hopes and dreams dashed to pieces. Attorney James Ferraro, who is representing the plaintiff, said in a statement, the world will soon see how these 52 people of color risked everything on the golden arches only to be kept down, marginalized, and driven to ruin. Because it costs a lot to get in there. The franchise alone is 45 grand. Not to mention building the store. I heard, I don't know, it might come up in the story, but I heard building the store costs you $400,000. So you're looking at almost $500,000 to get in with the McDonald's. And if you got a little money, you've been in the service, been saving your money, and you now say, I'm gonna put my life, I'm gonna put my chances on the line and get me a McDonald's, and you go open in a McDonald's thinking you're gonna be dealt with fairly. Black people love it. They always talk about eat at McDonald's. It's worldwide, one of the top companies in the world. Come to find out, the whole time they ripping you off, bringing you down to the grave and destroying you. These areas is where we never address these areas. We never address these areas and look at what we should be doing while we waiting on Christ's return. What we could be doing. The Israelite School, UBK, we on that. We in that, okay? Let me get a little bit more. The complaint alleges the company steered black franchisees to locations with low sales, high security, and insurance costs, and were essentially a financial suicide mission. Damn. Sent them black owners and Latino owners and others to financial suicide, trying to join one of the biggest, most successful corporations on the planet. You should have had no issue. There should have been no issue with getting this McDonald's. Here's what it said. It also states that black franchisees were treated differently by being denied assistance during financial hardships, which show you that white franchisees were given, meaning the white franchise owners, they got help. They got help and assistance to help keep them up. The black ones treated you like garbage, which they treat you like you lazy. You're the hardest working people in the world, and we let them put the stigma on us that we are lazy. Once again, like I've been saying, we got to stop blaming us. We got to stop blaming us. Black people hate to hear these words come out my mouth when I say we got to stop blaming us, because we've been so ingrained to blame ourselves. We love to blame ourselves. We love to say we got to do better. We got to do harder. When you got whole systems working against you, and only Christ could get you out of that, man. Only the Lord could get you out of that. And you should see it. It's all around you. Like, we in poverty and in filthy, destroyed neighborhoods, man, and looked at as evil and all of this by design, by pure design, not by natural selection, man, by pure design. And claims that black franchises were denied the same growth opportunities that were offered to the white franchises. They trusted them. They gave them the opportunities, but when it came to you, oh, hell no. They didn't even think about giving you the opportunity. While in 1998, there were 377 black McDonald's franchises. Today, there are 186 left standing. Imagine that. Imagine that. They basically wiped out half, a little less than half of all the black franchises. Why? By steering them in them direction, putting them in areas where they know they wanted a McDonald's, but they knew the chances were so such that they would lose power, that they would end up shutting down. So they put you in them areas that basically drained everything you invested and wiped you the hell out. Where is the black McDonald's? That's what I want to know. And why haven't we gotten together and gotten it done in the meantime while we waiting on our great and holy King? That's why we eating. Everybody knows McDonald's is garbage, but all our kids love it. The kids love it. They love every bit about it because of the well-placed advertising. But where's ours that our kids love? Once again, you better learn that, man, because you're going to see at the top of this, before this is over, that same nationality of so-called Jews are at the head of this game also, man. That's what you about to find out. They at the head of this game. And you don't even know it. You don't even know. You can't even see the enemy, man. You can't see the real enemy that got you binded down and keeping you oppressed, man. You can't see him yet, but we getting revealed little over time and over time. Let's get some more. Okay. It said that in 98, they had 377. Now in 2020, 186 left. According to a statement from Ferraro's office, during the same period, however, McDonald's stores, listen to this, y'all, have increased by 15,000 locations, man. 15,000 locations. They now have 36,000 McDonald's in the U.S. 36,000. They almost double the amount, but cut half of the black ones out. And of course, they'll say they didn't work hard, or they were lazy, or they didn't do this and didn't do that. All of it will be a lie. Every bit of it will be a lie. They systematically grinding you out while you sitting up there begging and voting, and the politician's job is only to keep you appeased, man. It's not to return you back to the Lord. When you return back to the Lord, you break from them, man, and you start to work on your own, and you're going to do great when you do. You haven't gotten there yet, but you're going to get there, watch. Moreover, the cash flow gap for black McDonald's franchisees has tripled between 2010 and 2019, meaning the gap on how much a black franchise makes as opposed to how much a white one makes. The court document states, citing National Black McDonald's Operators Association data, McDonald's categorically denied the lawsuit allegations in a statement and emphasized its commitment to diversity and equal opportunity. I'm going to show you how that's a damn lie with McDonald's in a second. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to show you how that's a damn lie. These allegations fly in the face of everything we stand for as an organization and as partners to communities and small business owners around the world, the company said in a statement to ABC News. Not only do we categorically deny the allegations that these franchises were unable to succeed because of any form of discrimination by McDonald's, we are confident that the facts will show how committed we are to diversity and equal opportunity of the McDonald's system, including across our franchises, suppliers, employees, and so forth, statement said. Now, I'm going to show you how that's, first of all, a complete and total lie. They run these things to oppress you, to put you to death in this place. And it is why your sons and daughters are on the bottom of the barrel. First of all, let's look at real quick how much money McDonald's makes. Oh, we didn't even look at that, did we? Let's take a look. McDonald's, feel this for a minute, fam. Feel this for a minute. McDonald's makes it's worth $157 billion. Again, $1 billion is 1,000 million. So they have 157,000 millions. That's how much cash McDonald's is worth. Meanwhile, these black businesses they've lost half of these black businesses and wiped them out. And here's why they wiped them out. They wiped them out because they hate you. And because they are a people that will never, ever give you a part in this kingdom, man. They will never give you a part in this kingdom. Let me explain what I mean. Let me go back a little. First of all, let me just break this down for you. The CEO, the head of McDonald's right now, is an Edomite, a so-called Jew of Polish descent named Christopher Kempczynski. That's the CEO of McDonald's right now. That's the big dog that runs all of McDonald's right now. He's a so-called Jew from Poland. And from there, and I'm going to show you something else about them in a second, but bear with me for a second. And what you have to understand is they sit up there and say, at some point, black people have to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. At some point, black people have to, stop complaining and have to do for themselves. Meanwhile, these people have been eating you alive for the last 100 years, including the so-called Jew. Let's go back in history. Let's get a little history on this CEO that's running McDonald's, and you tell me if you think this is a good people. His great-great-grandfather was Leon Kempczynski, a so-called Jew born in Poland back in 1875, came to New York City, Brooklyn in 1923, joining the so-called Jewish community. In 1913, he had his son, Anthony Kempczynski, who eventually turned around and helped build the wealth of the family until he died in 1988. So remember now, in 1878, you had just been emancipated from captivity, from slavery in 65. This is a decade after the emancipation of slavery. The minute that emancipation was up, them so-called Jews came in here and others from all kinds of nations. That was when the influx of the other nations came because they realized slavery was over. This was their opportunity to come over here and, of course, steal up everything that was supposed to go to you. Everything that was supposed to go to you as you came out of slavery, they ate it all up. So he came over here back in 1923, shortly afterwards, changed his name and began in the real estate business and started gobbling up all of Brooklyn, every piece of Brooklyn they could. His son, who was born in 1913, who ran pretty much all the way to the 80s, he gobbled up tons of real estate and property and power over blacks and Latinos in this kingdom. He did so well that his son, the CEO Christopher's father, Richard, who was born in 1940s, remember now, 1940s, you still didn't have any civil rights. For 25 years, you still didn't have civil rights in 1940. But his son was able to go to college. His son was able to go to school and become a vascular surgeon in 1940. He went on to have Christopher, who all these pretty much the last three of them went to Harvard University. And Christopher was born in 1967. He then, right after we got emancipated, that's when he was born, which of course we caught hell for 20, 30 more years, really up until today. So all while we was going through these hells from the cap slavery on up, they were building their family empires. They were building them up from the back in the 20s. They were building their families up unabridged from white racism. They had some racism because, of course, some other white groups didn't deal with them, but nobody dealt with you. So they had, since the 20s, they had plenty of time to educate their kids, buy up real estate, get power over you. And here we are, 2020. And now in 2020, and long before 2020, he became the CEO, the ruling party, so to speak, of McDonald's. Now let's check a look at how they dealt with McDonald's. McDonald's, check this out. McDonald's workers had sued over a variety of workplace issues, including allegedly using a timekeeping system that prevented workers from being paid overtime. This is all while they're promoting how loving they are and how they work together with, that they have diversity and all of this BS. When meanwhile, the workers had to sue because they had timekeeping systems that made sure that poor black people making $7 an hour could not get any overtime. McDonald's Corp agreed now to pay $26 million to settle the long-time running labor dispute over allegations that the fast food giant underpaid staff in certain California restaurants. So remember, this is just in California. Just in California. They doing it across the entire country. But they settled with California so they wouldn't come out. How horrible they treat black people. That's why you turn on the news now and you see, you turn on YouTube, you turn on the news, you see all these fights going on in fast food restaurants. A lot of it is because you got crazy people coming in the restaurant. But a lot of it is the dead frustration of these workers being paid nothing in a $157 billion corporation. $57 billion. And they had to sue for themselves to get more than minimum wage, which is why we are foolish to think that you could stop racism or you could somehow bridge this gap when they are making hundreds of billions of dollars off of your poverty. It's good money to keep you a slave. Don't nobody want to let you out of being slave. What the other nations want is a chance to be your slave master also. That's why the East Indians are buying up all the McDonald's now. Everybody wants to be your slave master. And nobody wants to hear you say, we should be treated equally and fair. You the only fool listening to Christian preachers tell you that, equality and love and let Jesus prevail. Christ is trying to separate you, man. That's what the coronavirus is about. That's what the plagues that's coming is about. Getting you back to you so you can get the right leadership over you so that you don't be a sucker under these different nations, man, like you've been for so long. Listening to these fools lie to you and make you believe that up the road there's some reason to have hope. Which once again, these brothers and sisters that had these franchises, they had hopes and dreams. And them hopes and dreams got destroyed because them hopes and dreams was in a system that pretended to act like it was full of love and care and equality when it was all about ripping you off in any way they can. There's sharks in the water on you. Which is why I keep telling you, you got to return to your own. You want to see black people and Latino people prosper and come forward and rise up and really come on a level. Turn your back on this place, man. Turn your back on this place and begin to pull away from here and become true servants of Christ. And watch the Lord work for you, man, and change this place. Let me get a little bit more. Okay? Several McDonald's workers sued the company in 2013 for a variety of labor violations, including using a timekeeping system that prevented workers from qualifying for overtime. The class action suit included tens of thousands of McDonald's cooks, cashiers in corporate-run stores across California, not privately run stores. Corporate-run stores. You had privately run stores, they didn't sue them. But them corporate-run stores, they sued them because they were disgusting. Why? Because so-called Jews sitting over the top of it and have been your slave master for generations and have hated you every step of the way while bleeding you dry. Okay? You wouldn't have to ask them for nothing if you just made money from off of you and your people and what you did for yourselves, man. And the Lord would bless you in it. Instead, you gave all your wealth and power over to them in the civil rights movement. Gave all your power and wealth over to them in their corporations that wiped out all of yours. Listening to Martin Luther King and that lie. Gave over all your trust to preachers that they owned, that brainwashed you and fooled you into believing that you should join them when you should serve Christ, man. You should be serving him, brother, sisters. Let me read some more. The allegations included workers being forced to clock out during times when restaurants were quiet. Imagine that. You at work, but you got to clock out because the restaurant is quiet, so they don't want to pay you. So you got to clock out and sit in the dining area until they get some business again, then you can clock back in. Trying to save every quarter off of you, man. Imagine that mess. During times when restaurants were quiet and barred from taking breaks. You couldn't take a break then. Workers also claimed that they bore the cost of buying and cleaning their own uniforms. They had to, at $7 an hour, they still had to buy and clean their own uniform. McDonald's denied any wrongdoing as part of the settlement, which applies only to California. They paid $26 million and turned around and said, well, we denied the claim. We don't believe that that's what happened. They know good and damn well that's what happened, but paid it anyway. While we continue, this is McDonald's speaking, while we continue to believe our employment practices comply with California Labor Code, meaning this, meaning this is what we able to legally get away with. We only got to, even though we worth $157 billion between 36,000 stores. We worth $157 billion. We still believe that we don't have to. We know that the law says we can pay you this minimum wage. That's why they say we believe we complied with California labor laws. Meaning we did exactly the minimum of what we had to do for you to be employed with us. They monsters, man. They monsters. These so-called Jews, they sitting up over you and they have no empathy at all for what you're suffering in this kingdom. And you, this part they write on. You should help yourself, but not in the way that they want you to. You should help yourself by coming together under the Lord and under Christ. You understand? How you gonna serve the gods of other nations and expect your life to be right? You serving the gods of the white Jesus, man. When Jesus Christ was a black man and didn't teach what they teach you in church. You trying to serve the Arab gods and believe in the way of the Arab life and the East Indian life and even the white Jewish life and following their gods to the end that they become your masters, man. Go back and read the scriptures like I always bring out. One of the first things the Lord did every time he got us out of some captivity, one of the first things he did was get us to turn from the other nations' gods, man. We had to turn from them Egyptian gods and go serve the Lord. We had to turn from the Midianite gods and go serve the Lord. We had to turn from their gods. We had to turn. Remember, Daniel didn't want to bow down and worship the gods of the Babylonians. Yes, of the Babylonians. And got in trouble before it. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't want to turn from the gods of these Babylonians, man, and got thrown in the cauldron, and the Lord had to deliver them. Christ didn't want to follow the religion of the Sadducees and Pharisees because they were following the way of life of the Romans, man. And he turned his back on that whole religious institution, even the very temple that supposedly Solomon built. But by the time of Christ, that wasn't even Solomon's temple. They was just calling it Solomon's temple. But it was a Roman temple that the Romans built on top of Solomon's temple, man. And as a result, here we are worshiping their God yet again, putting our hope and dreams. The article put it right. We put our hope and dreams into this empire. And this is why we're angry and protesting and marching and upset. But we ain't making the right decision on top of it, which is to turn back to the black God. That's why you hear me always using the term, show me the nigger God. Because that's the God gonna help you, man. You want the God of the niggas. Everybody else got a God. The reason why I say it is because when you say that term, the nigger God, People act like, oh, I can't believe he said that. You got a God for everything else. You got a God for every nation on earth. You worshiping the sun god, the moon god, every god on earth. There can't be a God for niggas. Where's that God at? Because I want to talk to him. Well, I found him. He's recorded in the Bible, man. He's recorded in the Bible. And then Yahweh is his name. That's the God we should turn to. And we'll get something done. Okay? Let me get a little bit more. Okay? The company also said it regularly adds training and resources to its corporate-owned restaurants to promote compliance with labor laws. Once again, back to compliance with labor laws, not fair treatment of labor, of the brothers and sisters that occupy these restaurants, man. It's a shame. These restaurants, many of them make more money than five-star restaurants all over the city. These fast food joints make way more money than tons of five-star restaurants that pay their employees $30, $40 an hour to bring out a plate to some rich person for $30 an hour. Wash their uniforms, buy them uniforms, give them huge tips, bonuses at the end of the year because they work in some high-end restaurant and the restaurant don't make nowhere near as much as a McDonald's makes. But the workers in the McDonald's, you pay them minimum wage and say, well, we're complying with California's labor laws. We're not breaking any laws. We're not breaking any rules. And that's why it's such a horrible, horrible thing, man. It's such another layer of the massive captivity that the Lord's chosen people are in, man. Another layer of that massive captivity. Let me give you some more, okay, real quick. As part of the settlement, McDonald's agreed to permit workers to leave the restaurant during their meal period. You couldn't even leave the restaurant during your meal periods, man. And no longer dictate that workers take rest breaks only at the start of their shift. You can only take a break right when you come on shift, not during the shift. They monsters, huh? $157 billion company, man. And you had to sue them to take a decent break. This is captivity. This is why brothers and sisters so rude and nasty in the McDonald's, man. And ready to start a fight with you in a minute. It is also promised to maintain detailed electronic time records and provide additional uniforms to crew members. McDonald's has faced a string of employee issues at its U.S. restaurants this year. Labor organizers and some lawmakers have called on the company to address workplace harassment allegations and raise its minimum wage to $15 goddamn an hour. Imagine that. Okay? Imagine that. $7.25 an hour. And the restaurant makes the restaurant's worth $157 billion. The chain is worth $157 billion. But they got to be sued into paying you more than $7.25 an hour. Like, this is captivity, brothers and sisters. This is what real captivity looks like. So once again, it's crazy, man. One of the biggest corporations in the world. You would expect this corporation to be, just and all of that, and all that, black people in the world think. Meanwhile, they steady up there doing the same hustle on you that they've been doing on everybody else. Thousands and thousands of workers paying them next to nothing, while meanwhile building up white franchises, destroying black franchises, and wiping them out by the hundreds, while doubling the amount of franchise and building the company up to the damn sky. Now, in the coming weeks and days, they'll find a couple of Uncle Toms who got a few of them who are doing successful, and they'll bring them up into the forefront and act like nothing is going on. But what you should remember is that all across this country, man, they're paying these brothers and sisters absolutely nothing, while the company itself is worth $157 billion. Meanwhile, they paying brothers and sisters nothing. Your friendly neighborhood McDonald's, that whatever that is that's in that burger, there you go. Now you see what's going on. Then on top of it, it's the perfect storm of slavery, because every doctor will tell you that fast food is killing us. Fast food is bad. Fast food is too greasy. Fast food is all this. We love it. We eat it. Meanwhile, it's killing us, killing our parents, enslaving our children, wiping us out as part of the economy, all while telling us how diverse they are and how much they love us. Once again, it's very easy for us to do the will of the Lord and change our life and change the lives of our brothers and sisters. But all we have to do is care enough about our brothers and sisters to look dead in the eye of what is destroying us and face the fact that most everything we love, most everything we believe in is right, is completely wrong. Let me read this for you. Proverbs 14:26. Here's what it says. In the fear of the Lord is strong confidence, and his children shall have a place of refuge, man. The Lord's children will have a place in refuge if we fear the Lord and do what he said. 27 verse, Proverbs 14:27. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life. When you fear the Lord, you're going to have a fountain of life because he going to put borders around you. Like that fear of the Lord means this. It don't mean run around, oh God, you know, like a spook. That's what they show you in horror movies. That's not what it's talking about. Fearing that the Lord will punish you like a good father will when you misbehave, and knowing what it is that your father wants, starting with laws, statutes, and commandments, compassion and love for your brothers and sisters, preferring your brothers and sisters before any others, just like any parent does. Any parents say, I don't care what them kids doing out there, you make sure you have your behind home at this time. I don't care what other parents do, you make sure you watch out for your little brother and little sister. That's what the Lord does. The same thing he put in you is in him. And you are his children. And in fearing him, you get a fountain of life. Here's what it says, middle of 27 verse. To depart from the snares of death. And when you fear the Lord and you start following his commandments, you and your people begin to what? Get out of the snares of death, man, which is what is happening to us in this place. And we got a short bit of time to get it done so that we can return unto the Lord. Here go another one for you. This is 2 Samuel, 22nd chapter, 4th verse. 2 Samuel 22:4. This is David speaking, man, about him going through his suffering. Once again, the Bible is an enormous book of wonder and righteousness, because the Bible, of course, has all the answers to everything happening to us in our captivity. And let me tell you something else. When we're in our kingdom and in our great wealth and ruling the world and at peace on our bed, we're going to read these stories and be horrified at what we went through in these past times. We're going to read about the captivity of Egypt. We're going to read about the captivity of Babylon. We're going to read about the Assyrians, the Romans, the Medes, the Persians, America, France, Germany, England. We're going to read about these captivity. And we're going to be in our kingdom in safety and in peace and haven't seen wars in hundreds of years. And open up these stories and going to look at them with amazing horror that we went through these things, because we'll be so far removed from it, we won't even understand it too well. We'll be like, I can't believe they went through all of that. And we'll be so thankful for the Lord for all that he's done to us. We can't see it now. Our love and hope and trust is in the empires and the gods of this world. But in that day, boy, our love for the Most High is going to be strong. We're going to know how we get out of our jams. We're going to know where our bread is buttered at, as they say. We're going to know it in that day. And it's going to be glorious to the Lord in that day. He's going to receive what any father would want. Any father wants to be beloved of his children because he went out there and worked hard and took care of his family and raised them up and protected them and punished them when they needed it and made them whole. That's what he put in you. That's why he said, let us make man in our image and likeness. He made you like him. And in you being like him, you should understand him and understand what he wants as a father and do the will of the Father and watch him like he love his own. Like Christ said, you being a wicked man, your son asks you for bread, would you give him a stone? You would not give him a stone. He's your son. You love him. You give him some bread. Well, the Lord said the same about you. He's sitting in heaven waiting for you to say, I will return, Dad. I will do what you said. Can I eat some bread? He ain't gonna give you a stone. But like any good father, he gotta punish you when you disobey. And now this punishment is over. It's time now. It's time now to walk with the Most High ever before. Here's what David said. I will call on the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I have saved from mine enemies. You see that? That's our route out of captivity. You don't get out of captivity no other way. David knew best. That was a warrior of warriors. He knew best how to get out of it. He says, so shall I be saved from mine enemies. He didn't put it in his own trust. He didn't put it in his own might. He didn't put it in his own ability, his political strategy, how good he was with a weapon, how many guns he had. He didn't put it in any of that. He put it in the Most High. He knew by standing with the Most High, who he said is worthy to be praised, which he's worthy to be praised because he's the one that can deliver you. He's worthy to get respected. Everybody loved a number one fighter. When Mike Tyson was fighting, everybody loved Mike. You couldn't help but love Mike. Mike was the champion, was knocking cats out. It was glorious to see Mike knock people out. He had nothing but love for it, despite all his, things as a man that he suffered in the flesh. They loved Mike. They love a champion. Well, guess what? The Most High is a champion too, and a champion fighter. He made the fighter. So if you love Mike Tyson, God made Mike Tyson. Okay? So that's just a fraction of how he will fight. That's why David understood it and said he was worthy to be praised, because he'll come and fight and be the champion whom you love. In the kingdom of heaven, oh man, we're going to praise the Most High like the baddest of baddest. We're going to praise him. We're going to praise Christ. We're going to be in the kingdom in peace and harmony with all nations under our feet, drinking wine, eating good, and we're going to read. Christ's going to be sitting there with us, and we're going to read about how he went up on this cross and how he took this beating and how he took this abuse and how he stood with the Lord to the end. And we're going to be flabbergasted because, again, we'll be 10 generations from a single war. We won't even know what war is. And we'll see that and be like, man, you was amazing. Man, you was something to see, Yahushua. That's the kingdom of heaven. That's what we're supposed to be shooting for. Let me read on. 2 Samuel 22:5. When the waves of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. See that? David trusted in the Lord. When the waves of death compassed him, and this waves of death coming now. Coronavirus is a wave of death. The prison system is a wave of death. Being stopped by the cops is a wave of death, man. Okay? The waves of death compassed him, man. The floods of ungodly men. And that McDonald's story we just went over, that's the floods of ungodly men. The music industry, the television industry, these are floods of ungodly men, man, that flood up our lives with lies and hypocrisies, and they destroy our mentality and mix us up and confuse us to where we don't even know what gender we're supposed to be. They messed us all up with this mess, man. Here's what the David said. The sorrows of hell compassed me about, and the snares of death prevented me. In my distress, 7th verse, I called upon the Lord and cried to my power. This is what David said, boy. In his distress, he cried unto the Most High. He found the nigger God. He found, I think I'm gonna get a t-shirt, the nigger God, or nigger God. Who is the nigger God? Something. I'm gonna work it out. Brothers, y'all work that out for me. All right. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried to my power. And he did hear my voice out of his temple. That's heavy. He heard David's voice out of his temple. You know why? Because David was in his temple. David wasn't serving the God of the other nations. He wasn't serving no white Jesus in church. He wasn't serving no Arab God in no Muslim mosque. He wasn't serving none of them gods. He was serving the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, recorded of in the Bible, Yahweh in the Hebrew. And in serving that God, he got heard out of his temple now. And my cry did enter into his ears. He pleaded, man, and it got entered into his ears. The problem with us is We standing and pleading to our slave master. Please, master, give us equal rights. Please, master, stop killing us by the cops. Please, master, this, and please, master, that. We should turn to the Lord and let him guide our steps. Let him make our decisions. Let the prophets of the Lord have a shot at leadership and watch what they do for the Lord's chosen people. 8th verse, 2 Samuel 22:8. Then the earth shook and trembled. That's what's going to happen. As black people, Latino people, and natives start to turn back to the Lord in droves. They're going to do it in droves because the Lord going to force them to. He's going to force you to it. The Rona is just the beginning. And we're going to turn to the Lord in droves. The foundations of heaven moved and shook. The foundations of heaven are all those that's ruling in these empires, that's ruling in these corporations. Like this guy we talked about running McDonald's. They in heaven since their great grandfathers been living good and going to Harvard and making money off of black people. Stole everything they had down there in Brooklyn, man. Robbed all them West Indians, them Benjamites, of all their real estate and property, and swindled and cheated them, sent their kids to college and went and turned around and now ruling over us and enslaving our children at $7 an hour all across this empire, man. But the Lord said, man, the heavens moved. David said, representing the Lord, said the heaven moved and shook because he was wroth, because the Most High became angry at those that came against whom he loves, like any good father would. Any good father would deal with you that way. See, if you understand how a father should be, you would better understand what it is the Lord is requiring from you, what it is the Lord wants from you, man. Black and brown come together, man, brothers and sisters, man. I'll catch y'all on the next one.